Listen closely. There are stories in this league that you just can't look away from. Welcome to NFL Nexus. I'm so glad you're here. Look, if you really want to understand the hidden currents, the deep, intricate stories that actually define this league, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Your support for this explainer means everything. Today we are looking at the Indianapolis Colts. And honestly, they serve as a haunting yet oddly fascinating reminder of how quickly a franchise's fate can turn to absolute dust. Seriously, think about it. In this league, you can literally do everything right. You can build the perfect scheme, find the absolute perfect rhythm, have the fans screaming your name, and then watch it all disintegrate before your very eyes. This right here, this is the anatomy of a collapse.
Everything changed in a matter of seconds. We talk about success in the NFL like it's this solid thing, but it's not a concrete foundation, right? It's really more like a house of cards resting right on top of a major fault line. You're always, and I mean always, just one awkward plant of the foot, one missed block on the blind side, or one bad hit away from a total catastrophic reset. The margin between riding on a float in a championship parade and a massive scorched earth front office purge, it's razor thin. It is terrifyingly thin, and honestly, no team, absolutely no team in the National Football League right now understands this agonizing fragility quite like the team residing in Lucas Oil Stadium.
Section 1. The Dream and the Collapse. A 2025 Tragedy.
Okay, let's really dive into this. Let's unpack the whole thing. Because to truly comprehend the massive, suffocating stakes of the upcoming 2026 season, we have to walk through the absolute wreckage of 2025. It was a year that began as a fever dream for the city of Indianapolis. I mean, it was the ultimate story of redemption, right? But then it twisted, slowly, painfully, into an inescapable nightmare. Let's see how this builds. Because this timeline, it's a total roller coaster, and we need to look at every single drop. Let's go back to Week 11 of the 2025 season. The Colts were the kings of the league. They were sitting at a historic, dominant 8-2 start. The vibes were immaculate. Head coach Shane Steichen, people were calling him an offensive genius, and rightfully so. His ultimate reclamation project, quarterback Daniel Jones, was playing the most efficient, poised football of his entire life. Nobody wanted to play them. They were practically untouchable. And then, Week 12 arrived, the turning point. Daniel Jones goes down. He suffers a fractured fibula. But here's the crazy part, right? Incredibly, he tries to play through it. He's out there trying to keep this magical dream alive on a literally broken leg. It's heroic, sure, but the human body has limits. It always does. By December, the unimaginable happens. A devastating, fully torn Achilles. Just like that, the Pop. His season is over, done. And the franchise, they plummet right along with him. The air just completely left the building. The Colts endured a soul-crushing, agonizing 7-game losing streak. 7 games. Week after week of just brutal, uninspired football. They finished the year 8-9. Just sit with that for a second. From 8-2 to 8-9, missing the playoffs entirely. Ouch. That is the kind of collapse that leaves scars.
Section 2. Desperation and the Blockbuster. Panic in the front office.
So what happens next? When a collapse of that absolute historic magnitude happens, the shockwaves don't just stay in the locker room. They don't just affect the players. They hit the executive suites, and they hit them fast. General Manager Chris Ballard had to sit there and watch a guaranteed, locked-in playoff run just evaporate into thin air. And let me tell you, when survival is on the line in the NFL, when a front office feels the heat turning up, the reaction is rarely measured. It is rarely calm. It is desperate. Look at the sheer magnitude of the panic right in front of us. The Colts surrendered a 2026 first-round pick. They surrendered a 2027 first-round pick. And, as if that wasn't enough, they threw in a highly promising young wide receiver in Adonai Mitchell. All of this capital, all of this future lifeblood, to acquire superstar cornerback Sauce Gardner. Now let's be totally clear here. Make no mistake, Sauce Gardner is an elite, generational talent. He's a game changer. But you have to dissect the absolute desperation behind making this move right now. This wasn't a team adding the final piece to a championship puzzle. No way. This was throwing all the furniture overboard just to keep a sinking ship afloat. Ballard mortgaged 2 full years of premium top-tier draft capital and a dangerous young weapon just to make a massive splash, desperately hoping it would be enough to distract from the fact that his offense was bleeding out.
But the gambles didn't stop with the trade. Oh no. They doubled down. $88 million. $88 million. That is the staggering, jaw-dropping 2-year extension the Colts handed to Daniel Jones earlier this offseason. I really want you to let that number sink in for a second. Let it wash over you. We are talking about $88 million guaranteed to a quarterback who is currently, as we speak, rehabilitating a fractured fibula and a fully torn Achilles tendon. I mean, they have put every single egg they have into this one incredibly fragile basket. The entire franchise, the front office, the coaching staff, the fans, is now irrevocably trained to an aging quarterback's medical chart. If he doesn't heal perfectly, actually scratch that, even if he does heal perfectly but he loses his mobility, if he can't escape the pocket like he used to, that money instantly becomes an anchor, a massive, inescapable anchor dragging the entire front office right into the abyss. It is an all-or-nothing roll of the dice.
Section 3. A $5 million backup. The fall of Anthony Richardson. Now, in the wake of this desperate Daniel Jones era, there's collateral damage. There always is. There's a ghost haunting the sidelines in Indy right now. I'm talking about the former number 4 overall pick, Anthony Richardson. He was drafted to be the savior, the face of the franchise for the next decade, the dual-threat monster, and now he is completely, totally stranded on the bench. And you know what? This situation brilliantly, almost cruelly illustrates the harsh, unforgiving reality of the NFL open market. The Colts actually permitted Richardson to seek a trade. They opened the door, but the phone just didn't ring. Why? Well, you have to look at the landscape. Put yourself in the shoes of a GM. Quarterback-needy teams out there had options, proven veteran options. Guys like Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa were available, and crucially, they were willing to sign for the veteran minimum. So ask yourself, why on earth would a franchise give up valuable draft assets to trade for Anthony Richardson and take on his fully guaranteed $5 million salary, especially when you factor in his incredibly concerning medical history? We're talking about a rookie season ended by major AC joint surgery on his throwing shoulder, and then a 2025 season completely derailed by a horrific orbital bone eye injury where he played 2 games and threw exactly 2 passes. 2 passes. The rest of the league looked at the $5 million price tag, they looked at the medicals, they looked at the alternatives, and they politely looked the other way. The market spoke, and it was brutal.
Which leaves us with a bleak, almost suffocating reality for the young prodigy. Anthony Richardson has basically had to accept that he is stuck. There's no way out right now. He will simply have to play out the 2026 season holding a clipboard, standing in the long shadows cast by Daniel Jones, just biding his time until he finally hits unrestricted free agency in 2027. It really is a quiet tragedy of lost development. A potential superstar whose light has been abruptly, forcefully paused by the brutal economics and the chaotic circumstances of professional football. He's a spectator in his own career right now.
Section 4. Protecting the franchise. The internal pipeline. So, with Richardson sidelined and the future completely mortgaged by trades and extensions, the Colts are staring down an existential crisis. Think about it. If you are going to bet your jobs, your legacy, and $88 million on Daniel Jones' surgically repaired Achilles tendon, you absolutely, unequivocally must protect him. The offensive line isn't just another position group anymore. It is quite literally the life support system for this entire franchise. If the line fails, the whole experiment dies. So the absolutely crucial point here is how they are choosing to build that life support system. You'd think they'd go by the best free agents available, right? Wrong. Instead of spending big in free agency, they are leaning entirely on their internal pipeline. Now, the left side is anchored. You've got Bernhard Raimann and the legendary Quentin Nelson. With Tanner Bortolini holding down the center, that's solid. But the right side? Oh man, the right side is an absolute war zone right now. You have Matt Goncalves, who offers some really vital inside-outside versatility. They like his flexibility. You have Jalen Travis, who actually flashed some real tangible potential during his rookie stretches. And then you have Jalen Farmer, the rookie they specifically drafted to come in and force a brutal, no-holds-barred competition. The Colts are out there forcing these young, unproven men to fight tooth and nail in camp for the right to protect their massive $88 million investment. It's a massive gamble.
And the philosophy driving this intense, high-stakes competition, it comes directly from the offensive line coach, Tony Sparano Jr. During the draft, when the war room was discussing whether to pull the trigger on Jalen Farmer, Sparano supposedly looked around the room, deadpan, and said, "Draft him and I'll make it work." Now, you have to understand the weight of a statement like that. That isn't something you casually say about a long-term project. That is the raw, unbending, bordering on arrogant confidence of a coach who absolutely believes his development system is bulletproof. To Sparano, Farmer isn't just a backup body. He is a strategic weapon. By trusting Sparano to mold this homegrown talent, the Colts can avoid spending massive capital in free agency. And honestly, they need this to work, because after the Sauce Gardner blockbuster, that capital frankly no longer exists. The vault is empty. They are betting the physical safety of their quarterback and their entire season on the coaching staff's sheer ability to turn late-round picks into absolute brick walls.
Section 5. The easy schedule trap, an illusion of safety.
So all of these wild gambles, the massive trades, the huge financial extensions, the risky internal line developments, All of it will be tested against the upcoming 2026 schedule. And you look at it on paper, and it looks like an absolute gift from the football gods. But we all know the truth about the NFL, right? What looks like a gift is almost always a trap. The Colts enter 2026 tied with the Atlanta Falcons for having the fourth easiest schedule in the entire league. They are facing an opponent win percentage of just .465, less than a 50% win rate for their opponents. But please, do not let that number fool you for a second. Remember history. They had a similarly easy schedule heading into 2025. And what happened? It allowed them to build that beautiful, shiny, but ultimately fraudulent 8-2 record before the bottom completely fell out. An easy schedule in this league is nothing but an illusion of safety. It's a mirage. It lulls you into a false sense of security, hiding your fatal flaws, masking your weaknesses, right up until the weather turns cold, the playoff race tightens, and the injuries inevitably start to mount.
Because this is not a sprint, we say it all the time, but it's true. It is a grueling, unforgiving 17-game marathon. The pressure inside that building this season is monumentally high. It's suffocating. It honestly doesn't matter who they play in weeks 1, 2, or 3. It only matters if Daniel Jones can stay upright. It only matters if that unproven right side of the offensive line actually holds its ground against elite pass rushers. If Jones is still rehabbing or limited early in the season, Shane Steichen is going to be forced to rely on Anthony Richardson, who hasn't played meaningful football in ages, or Riley Leonard, just to navigate those early trap games. The Colts have a massive point to prove. They have to prove to the world and to themselves that they aren't just frontrunners who feast on weak opponents in September. They have to prove they possess the actual physical endurance to survive the darkest, most brutal depths of the NFL winter, because that's where championships are decided.
Section 6, Do or Die in Indy, the Chris Ballard era. Let's zoom out now to the macro perspective. Let's look at the big picture, because beyond the X's and O's, beyond the draft picks, the depth charts, and the injury reports, this is fundamentally a story about legacy. It is a story about job security. It is about the absolute, literal survival of general manager Chris Ballard. We need to look very, very closely at this track record. Let's just lay out the facts. 9 seasons, 2 playoff appearances, 1 single, solitary playoff win. Just let the heavy weight of those numbers settle in for a moment. 9 years. 9 years is an absolute eternity in the National Football League. Are you kidding me? Whole dynasties rise, win multiple Super Bowls, and completely fall apart in a decade. The excuses of the past, the shock of Andrew Luck's abrupt retirement, that is ancient history. Those excuses are long gone. The grace period is officially over. Ownership has clearly given Ballard the green light to do whatever it takes. They let him make the blockbuster trades, they let him hand out massive guaranteed contracts, but with that freedom comes the ultimate ultimatum. Time has officially run out for this front office. They must reclaim the AFC South, or else.
Which leaves us with one haunting, unavoidable question hanging over Lucas Oil Stadium right now. Will the desperate, absolutely all-in gambles born from the 2025 collapse finally save this franchise, or will they bury it entirely? There is no safety net left. There is no middle ground. It is either glorious redemption or a complete, painful, scorched earth reset for the entire organization. We're going to find out soon. Thank you so much for diving deep into this with me. If you want to support this explainer and help us keep unraveling the most intense, hidden stories in the league, please consider becoming a channel member right here on NFL Nexus. It helps us keep the lights on and keep bringing you these deep dives. Until next time, keep questioning the game.